The Food Safety Modernization Act, also known as FSMA, is transforming our food safety system by shifting the focus from responding to foodborne illness outbreaks to preventing them. Under FSMA, fresh produce is covered by the Produce Safety Rule. Depending on what type of produce a farm grows, where they are selling it to, and how much they are selling, they could be subject to the Produce Safety Rule. Farms that are subject to the Produce Safety Rule can be subject to routine regulatory inspections. In Oregon, FDA conducts farm inspections. ODA's work is funded by FDA, but it is non-regulatory. ODA's work consists of education, outreach, and technical assistance only. ODA's goal is to ensure that producers have the training and resources needed to understand and implement the rule. ODA has partnered with Oregon State University to offer education and outreach through our Produce Safety Alliance grower training classes and technical assistance via on-farm readiness reviews. On-farm readiness reviews, or OFRRs, are voluntary, free educational site visits typically conducted by ODA staff and OSU faculty. They are intended to help farm operators see where and how the Produce Safety Rule may apply to their operation. At the conclusion of each review, the team offers tips on how the farm can best comply with the rule. This series of videos provides a snapshot of what an on-farm readiness review looks like on a small, diversified operation, with an important exception. There is never an audience during an OFRR. The videos were shot at East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District's Headwaters Farm in Gresham, Oregon. Each video can stand alone or may be viewed separately based on your interests. When viewed together, the 5-part series provides a holistic view of the OFRR.
You have to be the model. You are the example. You know, every place is different, have different facilities. The only thing I would like to suggest is just go and do yourself how you want your workers to wash your hands. Show them what is your facility and be real, be what you have. So I would like to know, when do you train your workers or pre-harvest workers on food safety, what do you cover?
So we have an employee handbook that we go over, and all new employees, so we sit down and go over this handbook with them, and there's a little section in here about food safety. So we cover it at that first training, and then they sign this and date it to show that they
So what the information do you cover in your food safety?
So we talk about smoking, hand washing, how to treat like wash tubs, the difference between harvest bins and pack bins, cleaning bins, the proper use of bins, and cleaning and sanitizing equipment, separating personal items from veggie wash surfaces, and then sick policy.
All right, that sounds good. So how many workers did you say you have? How many workers?
I have 8 employees.
8 workers?
Yeah.
So I would like to know, how often do you train them?
So we just go over this handbook once, and then kind of, I think, as things are coming up in the field, there's kind of day-to-day training that happens. So we usually will do like one kind of harvest training at the beginning of the season and talk about the harvest knives and kind of where things live and how things are treated, and then we'll do like a pack shed training, and then kind of as needed we'll reinforce those ideas through the season.
So you have a permanent group of workers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is. What will happen if you have a new worker? What would you do? How do you handle new employees?
Well, it hasn't happened to me before, but I guess we would probably go over this employee handbook again and then try to get them up to speed on the things that we had taught everyone else up to that point.
How could you do? I don't know, you have that chance to have somebody that don't read what you're showing, a different language. What would you do?
I guess we'd get this translated for them. And then as far as the reading, I guess we would have someone read it to them.
What does a worker, if she or he, if they find some containers or tools that were not properly clean?
Well, I guess we kind of have a protocol that's everything gets cleaned.
We kind of protocol, or do you have the protocol?
we have a packing shed
All
checklist
right.
that we use. So at the end of every harvest day, we go through this checklist, and it's actually an initial list. It's not a checklist, but people initial the tasks as they do them. And so it kind of includes all, so that everything's clean the next time we come to it. But if something isn't, we'll usually go and clean it before we use it.
Do you have a protocol for visitors about hygiene, or what
No,
do you
not
do?
really.
You don't have visitors?
Well, we have visitors, but I guess, I never really thought about it. No, we don't have like a specific protocol.
All right. Well, that's something in the rule that you need to inform your visitors where are the areas they can go, where is the bathroom, and things like that. So you need to have some kind of protocol. The other thing is, are the toilet facilities and hand washing stations available for workers during the produce packing?
Yes.
So do you, when you're training them, you show them where it is and where are they located?
And we also provide a map in all of the harvest vehicles that kind of shows where things are on the farm, and so that employees can orient themselves.
The produce safety rule requires that one supervisor or responsible party for a covered farm must have successfully completed food safety training at least equivalent to that received under standardized curriculum recognized as adequate by the Food and Drug Administration. Covered farms are required to assign or identify personnel to supervise their operations to ensure compliance.
Do you do some difference between the people that, I don't know, you have post-harvest? Do you have a post-harvest?
So the crew that does the harvesting is the same crew that does the washing.
The washing,
Yeah, so it's
the
all
post-harvest.
Yeah.
Is there some specific activity they need to be trained when they're...
Well, we ask people to wash their hands before they
Okay.
start packing produce, and to spray their boots off so that we're not tracking mud.
What type of training do your workers receive on dealing with contaminated produce at harvest?
So things that have like poop on them.
Yes,
Or,
something like that.
there's just communication. So if you see something in the field that shouldn't be harvested, we just communicate that to each other. Like when we do that first training kind of on the way that we harvest on the farm, that's kind of when we lay out what our expectations are as far as like cleanliness of the produce, proper way to harvest, what the produce should look like, things to be looking for.
Okay. What does a worker, what if they or he or she finds containers that were not properly cleaned after harvest? After harvest. So what is the protocol?
For cleaning? So after we're done harvesting, we clean and sanitize all the containers that we used. And then anything that doesn't get cleaned for some reason gets stacked to get cleaned the next time. So they like are separated from where the clean stuff goes. Okay. And we also keep our harvest bins and our pack bins separate. So we have separate bins for dirty produce and separate bins for clean produce.
Make sure farm employees know and understand your farm's policies on glove usage. Always ensure that employees wash their hands prior to putting on gloves, and that gloves, whether single-use or reusable, are maintained in a clean and sanitary condition. Single-use gloves may not be reused.
And I'm going to talk about the hygiene and health and hygiene, and also about training. This is one of the most important things in this produce safety rule, training your workers in all the steps to reduce the risk of food contamination. That is the key. So hygiene is one of the most important things. Washing our hands, this is the first surface that is going to be in contact with the produce, so it has to be always clean. Always clean. Wash our hands is important But the most important thing is wash the hands correctly. What we want to do with all of this is reduce the risk of food contamination. If I use hand sanitizer, that would be okay. What do you think? Cleaning and sanitation, we have to do the same thing with our hands. It's important. Sometimes we don't visualize very well what is a microorganism. The other thing we don't see is, that's the reason some people don't understand why we should wash our hands so often if I don't see anything in my hands, right?
Sometimes it is difficult to understand why we must wash our hands frequently and for the prescribed length of time of at least 20 seconds, especially when we may not be able to see dirt on them. Even when there is no visible dirt or other debris, there can still be pathogenic microorganisms on the hands, which can be transferred to what we touch. GlowGerm is a training tool to help visualize how microbes can remain on hands even after washing your hands if it's not done properly. If we wash our hands too quickly or don't use enough soap, the microorganisms we can't see may not be removed. Here you can see how the cracks of her hands glow blue, indicating that microbes have not been removed since her hands were not washed properly. Proper hand washing consists of at least 20 seconds of scrubbing with soap and water, paying attention to cleaning under the nails, along the backs of hands, and between the fingers. Dry hands with a single-use towel and appropriately dispose of the towel in a trash can.
About health and hygiene, what kind of hygiene expectations do you have for all your employees?
Well, I guess in the manual we do talk about like hand washing, and if you're smoking, kind of how to be clean about that. And then anyone who works, we have animals on our farm, so anyone who works with the animals, we ask that they have different shoes that they wear for doing animal chores than what they bring onto the farm, and different gloves that they wear.
What about clothes?
I actually never thought about the clothes, so yes, now that's something I need to think about.
Jewelry that cannot be adequately cleaned and sanitized must be removed or covered when covered produce is being manipulated by hand.
How do you prevent ill or potential ill persons from coming into contact with products and food contact surfaces?
Well, we have a pretty strict no sick policy. So if you're sick, you can't work on a harvest day. So we'll send people home if they come to work sick. Yeah.
Interviewing the farmer and walking the farm allows reviewers to get a full picture of on-farm activities and practices. Reviewers follow standardized, open-ended, walking around questions as prompts to ensure that we address produce safety rule-specific issues and give the farmer the opportunity to tell the story of their operation. That way, the technical assistance we provide is targeted to the specific practices of their farm.
Okay. Hi, Rowan. Let's go through some questions about the health and hygiene. We would like to know what kind of toilet facilities and hand washing stations do you provide?
Okay, so we have one porta potty here, and then we have a composting toilet over at the barn, and then we have a flush toilet in the office. Each one has its own hand washing station.
Okay. What supplies are included with the toilets and hand washing facilities?
So soap is provided at all the hand washing facilities. Some of them have single-use paper towels.
All right. How frequently are the toilets serviced?
The composting toilets are serviced weekly, and the porta potties are serviced weekly during the growing season.
On-farm readiness reviews take about 2 hours to complete, but are dictated by the farmer. At the close of the OFRR, reviewers summarize what they've seen. They offer up to 3 focus areas where the farm could be in closer alignment with the produce safety rule, share pertinent resources, and answer any questions the farmer may have. If reviewers have taken notes, these are left behind for the host farm's personal records. This video showed a demonstration OFRR in front of an audience. This is not typical. The farmer may invite anyone they would like. However, the OFRR team only shows up with 2 people. When the review team departs, they leave the farmer a spiral-bound OFRR manual, an ODA summary of the visit, any technical assistance resources that may be appropriate, and business cards from the reviewers. The Oregon Department of Agriculture and Oregon State University team members are available for follow-up technical assistance. If the farm is called for a routine produce safety rule inspection by FDA, the farm may request ODA or OSU to observe. This is helpful for the farm, as we may be able to provide more resources based on FDA discussion items, and it is helpful for ODA to better educate others on how the rule is being enforced.
So my name is Rowan Steele. I work for the East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District. We are a non-regulatory form of local government that operates in Multnomah County, east of the Willamette River. Essentially what we're doing here is we are creating a space to support the development of new farm businesses. We do that by making farm land, farm equipment, and farm infrastructure available at an affordable rate, and we also do trainings around business and good stewardship farming practices. Food safety is a critical component to any farm business. So the goal of all farmers is to create a product that is healthy and wholesome and is fresh and reaches their customer and they love it, it's delicious. But if farmers are making their customers sick, obviously there's a huge liability there. So food safety is especially critical in an incubator environment. We have 15 different farm businesses currently leasing land from us and growing their own enterprises. And so there's a lot of opportunities for cross-contamination, for miscommunications. And so our space needs to be dynamic and it needs to accommodate a lot of users. And it just makes it that much more important that not only are we setting up facilities and systems that are amenable to food safety, but that our farmers are well versed in the produce safety rule. So we decided to have an on-farm readiness review, not just because we wanted to make sure that our farmers understood the law, but also because we wanted to make sure that our facilities were optimal in terms of meeting food safety standards and for our systems to be working for the farmers. Currently, all of our farmers are exempt from the produce safety rule, but a lot of them have grown their businesses quite a bit over their time here at Headwaters Farm and are closely approaching where they would become a non-exempt operation. So as they grow their business, they know what the law is. They know that they need to be keeping logs. They know that they need to be following certain practices. They need to be in compliance regardless of whether they are exempt or not. So having gone through the Produce Safety Alliance training, it was really good to drive in some of the more important points around excluding wildlife in terms of contaminated food or product in the field, in terms of bin washing and some of the other kind of basic steps that all farms go through, but knowing what is in compliance and what's not. One of the things that I found most valuable is just the understanding of how important it is to have proper hand washing stations at every restroom and at every wash station. Anywhere that somebody's going to need a hand washing station, it's important to have one on site. For our farmers, what really resonated with them was understanding how they need to keep their resources like bins clean. Being able to go through that process and demystify what actually constitutes a proper cleaning program was super helpful. That includes tools, bins, and any food contact surfaces. So another reason that it was important for us to host a readiness review is a lot of farmers do have fear around bringing regulatory entities out to the farm. And so for us as a public entity, we can use this space as a training grounds, not just for our farmers, but other farmers in the area. So it was really important for us, for our farmers to understand that Oregon's Farm and Food Safety Team is here to provide services in a non-regulatory manner, that they can feel comfortable reaching out if they have questions about how to provide safe food.